Is Mars red hot? Mars may look hot, but don't let its color fool you. Mars is actually pretty cold. In orbit, Mars is about 50 million miles farther away from the Sun than Earth. That means it gets a lot less light and heat to keep it warm. Mars also has a hard time holding on to the heat it does get. On Earth, much of the Sun's heat gets trapped in our atmosphere, which acts like a blanket to keep our planet warm. But Mars's atmosphere is about 100 times thinner than Earth's, so heat from the Sun can easily escape. How easily? If you were standing on the Martian equator at noon, it would feel like summer at your feet, but winter near your head. At night, it's even worse. When the sun goes down, temperatures can plummet to negative triple digits. And beware of cold winter nights when it could drop even lower. So if you plan to visit, better bring a spacesuit to keep warm. Mars really is a pretty cool planet.
How do you get to Mars? If you want to send a spacecraft all the way to Mars, first you'll need a fast rocket to escape the pull of Earth's gravity. The heavier your spacecraft, the more powerful your rocket needs to be to lift off. Next, make sure you launch at the right time. Mars and Earth orbit the Sun at different speeds and distances. Sometimes they're really far apart, and other times they come closer together. About every 2 years, the two planets are in perfect positions to get to Mars with the least amount of rocket fuel. That's important. The total trip is over 300 million miles. Finally, make sure your aim is right. You can't shoot for where Mars is at launch time. You have to aim for where it will be when you get there. It's a lot like how a quarterback passes a football. Also, you may need a few thrusts to correct your direction along the way so you don't miss Mars. If all goes well, you'll get to the red planet in about 7 or 8 months. Then, if you actually want to land on Mars, well, that's a whole land on Mars. Very carefully. Your spacecraft hurtles toward the planet at thousands of miles per hour, so you'll have to hit the brakes in a hurry. First, your capsule needs a heat shield. It protects the spacecraft inside from the heat and friction of entry into the atmosphere. Friction slows you down over 90%, but not enough to land safely. Use a parachute to slow down even more. Still, falling at over 100 miles per hour, you need the right system to land safely. Here are some options. With a small to mid-size rover, use a cushion of airbags along with retro rockets. Impact at 30 miles an hour and bounce to a stop. With a large lander, use retro rockets and landing legs to touch down going about 6 miles an hour. Or with a large heavy rover, use a big jetpack to slow down to under 2 miles an hour. Then gently lower it on cables to land on its wheels. Any way you do it, you'll need skill and hard work. There's nothing easy. Is Mars really red? When you see Mars in the night sky, it definitely has a reddish tint to it. People have been noticing that for a long time. Even the ancient Egyptians called Mars the Red One. So where does that redness come from? Well, a lot of rocks on Mars are full of iron, and when they're exposed to the great outdoors, they oxidize and turn reddish, the same way an old bike left out in the yard gets all rusty. When rusty dust from those rocks gets kicked up in the atmosphere, it makes the Martian sky look pink. From a long way away, the whole planet looks kind of reddish, but if you get a close-up view, with an orbiter, lander, or rover, you'll see that a lot of Mars is actually more of a butterscotch color. Depending on what minerals are around, some landscapes can be more golden, brown, tan, or even a little greenish. So in fact, there are a lot of different colors on what we call the red planet.